Deputy Prime Minister and ODM Deputy Party Leader Musalia Mudavadi is now singing and dancing to a different political tune, literally. It's this change of tune for a man who until recently was Prime Minister Raila Odinga's loyal second in command and preferred running mate in the forthcoming race to State House, until he raised concerns over the process of nominating the ODM flag bearer and an amendment of a clause in the party's constitution that recognizes the party leader as its automatic presidential candidate.
Ikiwa mlango umefungwa, basi lazima ufungue mlango ule mwingine. Tuko pamoja kwa wazo hilo. Mumesikia uamuzi wangu sasa?
Though Mudavadi clearly has one leg out of the Orange House, the ODM party leader and his allies still believe there is room for further consultation and consensus over the issues that Mudavadi has raised to enable ODM go to the polls as a united team.
Wengine wanasema sisi tunataka tunatoka. Wale ni waoga ndio wanasema tunataka kutoka. Kama ni nini tufanye mambo yetu ndani kama chungwa, tuache mambo ya kupigana kwa gazeti.
We do believe that the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister indeed has a bright political future, but that future will shine brightest within the ODM house.
Despite repeated assurances of a level playing field in the ODM presidential nomination, Mudavadi remains adamant, a situation political scientist Mutahi Ngunyi attributes to political mistrust in the Orange Party.
It is very clear to Mudavadi right now that the political game that Raila is playing is done in such a way that the game is selected by Raila himself. The rules of the game have been written by Raila himself, and the playing field is going to happen in Raila's own backyard. So it means that Raila will be in control. In this case, you can go into the field and he will tell Musalia Mudavadi you're playing football, but he changes the rules and he starts playing javelin.
Honorable Raila Odinga, ODM!
So should Mudavadi make really his resolve to walk out of ODM, who is likely to replace him as Odinga's deputy and running mate in the forthcoming presidential contest? What factors must Odinga, who is rated by the pollsters as the man to beat in the race to State House, consider when picking his running mate?
Raila must consider three things if he is to replace Musalia Mudavadi. Number one, the person he replaces him with must not be a lawyer. If he is stuck in that paradigm paralysis of looking for a lawyer, he will definitely fail. Number two, whoever he chooses must be radically different from what we have seen in the past. It cannot be a slow-punched politician like we have had in the past. It has to be someone totally different. But number three, it must be somebody with a value proposition. That is a guy who will come in and add value to his candidature, be it in terms of numbers, be it in terms of a constituency. And the constituency here doesn't have to be ethnic. It can be the youth constituency.
The Prime Minister could opt for a replacement from the Western Kenya region as a way of consolidating the Luhya vote that could give him a surge in the presidential contest. Experienced political leaders such as Speaker of the National Assembly Kenneth Marende, Youth and Sports Minister Paul Otuoma, and the man in charge of the National Planning Docket, Wycliffe Oparanya, have been mentioned as likely replacements for Musalia.
If you replace him with people who are colorless, they will not be able to have the magnetism to attract the crowds beyond the Luhya nation. Even within the Luhya enclave itself, it will become very difficult. So if Raila is looking for a national outlook, he's looking for the magnetism, group of people who will attract others, he had better be very radical.
Away from Western Kenya region, the Prime Minister has been a frequent visitor in the larger Meru region. The region that has religiously backed President Kibaki since 1992 is perceived to be a fertile vote hunting ground for the men and women eyeing the country's top job.
Tunasema Sisi tuko na wewe. Tuko na Raila.
With an estimated 1.2 million voters, could Odinga woo the region by picking one of its sons as his running mate in the forthcoming polls?
The chances are that the Meru will vote independent of the diaspora Kikuyu and the Kikuyus in central Kenya. Now, if that happens, then the guy who captures the Meru vote is likely to have a major scoop. And in this particular instance, if Raila Odinga is radical enough as to go look for a Meru presidential candidate, vice presidential candidate, and run with him, possibilities are that he is likely to get more support than he would have gotten from amongst the Luhya.
So far, only Roads Minister Franklin Bett has been bold enough to lay claim to the ODM running mate's position. Whether Odinga would pick him as his number 2 in the presidential contest remains the question.
I am looking upon whoever will be the presidential candidate, and God, thank goodness he is here. I want to be your running.
But in politics, they say there are no permanent friends or enemies, only interests. With pressure mounting on him to remain in the ODM fold, is there a possibility that Mudavadi may change his mind and agree to play second fiddle to Odinga?
Kuwa kwa ballot paper kama presidential candidate is one of the easiest things. Ni kama wewe unaenda tu na unasema mimi nataka kuwa president, na unaingia kwa chama chochote, vyama ni mingi, na unatoka. Sio amekwako. Lakini walipita.
If Musalia sees the light, that's the Raila Odinga light, and decides, hey, I am not going anywhere, I'm going to stay in ODM, then his political career is finished. And this is so because Raila will drop him, and he'll drop him at an appropriate time. So Musalia has absolutely no choice but to jump ship.
It's a delicate balancing act for the Prime Minister, and many may see his current situation as a defining political moment. His critics perceive him to be in a political crisis due to the happenings in the Orange House.
Raila is like fish in water when put in a crisis. I've said that in the past. And what we have taken to him now is a crisis. And in this kind of a crisis, Raila always comes out on top. That is a historical fact. He will come out on top on this one. I would not rule him out of the presidential candidature. And I would not rule him out of being a top candidate at some point. However, that will depend on the extent to which he does his politics, or rather the genius with which he does this politics. And I say so because he also has a record of cannibalizing himself. Raila eats himself up unknowingly a lot of the time because his errors of judgment are far too many. So if only he can be counseled and guided to walk a certain path and be told, don't eat up your limbs, don't eat up your legs, then there are chances that he could get out of this.
Karibu! Karibu!
After the hotly contested 2007 presidential poll, Odinga has lost several key allies in the team that was dubbed the Pentagon. He has parted ways with Eldoret North MP William Ruto, Mvita MP Najib Balala, and Mudavadi seems to be on his way out. Can he steer the orange ship to the top in the forthcoming race to State House? The jury is out there. Francis Gachuri for the Kibaki Succession series.